To get started. Okay. My name is Annette Brown, and I'm the current president of Norwich Women's Club. I would like to welcome you to our annual Select Board Candidates Forum. We have tonight with us Heidi Webster, who is going to be acting as our moderator, and Megan Tompkins, who is going to be monitoring the online chat. So people who are watching from home will have the opportunity to write in questions if they would like. Heidi will be introducing our candidates, and we'll let you know kind of the format of what we have for tonight.
Great. Well, welcome everyone, and welcome people who are visiting through YouTube. I'd like to start by introducing our candidates. I'll start from the end of the table. Priscilla Vincent is running for a 2-year seat. Chuck to function. Is that right?
Yeah. Wow, you got it right.
You said close. I mean, that's good.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard.
And Mary Layton and Doug Wilberding are all running for the 3-year seat on the Select Board. Now, we hope to take about an hour. We'll see how it goes. And Annette is our timer. And she will hold up a yellow card when the speaker has 30 seconds and red when they need to stop. Now, we will start with each candidate giving about a 3-minute opening statement. And then we will open to questions from the floor. And at that point, I'll go into that a little further. But why don't we start? We'll go in alphabetical order. So Mary, would you please start with your 3-minute statement?
All right, I'll do my best, and I haven't timed anything that I'm going to say, so you can just cut me off with a stop sign if I go on and on. I'm Mary Layton. I've lived here since 1970, raised my kids here. I'm just very committed to our town. I just like at this point in my life the opportunity to continue giving back to my town. I've been on the Select Board now for 9 years, quite a long time, and have been involved in such projects as putting together the public safety building, which I think has been a real asset to the town. I'm interested in other infrastructure projects. I'm hoping to be involved in the renovation of Tracy Hall. I'd like to see its historic character preserved, but also try to make it as energy efficient as possible. Which I think will be a bit of a balancing act. I'm not sure we could get it to net zero. Was pleased by an architectural study that said that we can work with the roof. So the roof will take solar panels with some reinforcement, but it may not take barriers to keep the snow crashing off. So there are details like that to work out. I like working in a team format. I'm been working for 30 years in a little alternative elementary school up in Thetford, Vermont, the open field school. And every day I have to work with a team. So that includes being able to define shared goals and to realize what is realistic to accomplish. And sometimes to maybe let go of a pet idea in order to work with everyone to make things happen. In terms of getting expert help, I know there's possibly a difference of opinion among the citizens about whether to hire consultants. And I think it is important to do that just because the nature of a lot of our problems are technical. For instance, when we had our landslide on the event, or not landslide, but road instability on Hemlock Road, on the Pompanusic, we brought in geotechnical firm to evaluate that. I don't think, if we hadn't done that, I think we would have just been waiting to see whether the road would slide into the river and perhaps a fire truck would have done the job. I think, and as to communication and transparency, I think people might be surprised at how restrained a select board person has to be. because of open meeting law restraints and because, you know, many of our problems have to do with personnel. And you have to exercise a great deal of restraint. So I'll leave it there. Whoop, stop sign. Put on the money.
Could I ask a few questions?
Wait until I open it to questions. They're making their statements.
Oh, I see, one at a time.
Chuck, would you give your 3-minute statement now, please?
Hey, my name is Chuck Defanction. Thanks to the Norwich Women's Club for organizing this event. I live here in Norwich with my wife and 10-year-old daughter. We decided to move back to Vermont about 10 years ago because we love it here and we wanted to be closer to our family. We couldn't be more grateful to have found a home in Norwich. It's been an awesome place to live. My wife, Megan, is a working artist who frequently volunteers at Mary and Cross, where my daughter attends the 4th grade, and they're both right back here tonight. We utilize the rec department programs, walking paths, parks, and take advantage of all the stuff that makes this town an exceptional place to live. We have great friends and neighbors here. I'm an equipment operator at the Norwich DPW, where I'm lucky enough to work with amazing people every day. Working for the town, helping to maintain the roads and contributing my professional skills in that capacity has been indescribably rewarding. Beyond giving me unique access to all types of people in this town, my work with the DPW provides a practical perspective on how our town operates. Norwich is a small rural community, but we're unique from a lot of towns across our state and region. I've seen firsthand how interested and involved our community is in the workings of our town. The level of participation and engagement that we have in this town is a big part of what makes this such a special place to live. Alongside that engagement, there's a certain level of expectation that people in this town have regarding transparency and information from the select board and our town leadership. They don't just want to know what decisions are made, they want to know why. And they want to know what factors are considered, what interests were balanced, and how we'll know if we made the right call. I think they deserve that level of transparency and involvement. Civic contribution is important to me, and Norwich is a great place because people before took on active interest in building this community and ensuring it ran smoothly and efficiently. Now it's our responsibility to continue that work. It's that belief that's led me to offer myself as an option in this election. I'm not a particularly political person. I'm kind of a private person, and I'm the most uncomfortable public speaker ever, which you're seeing now. However, I'm comfortable saying that I have a practical nature, the ability to objectively interpret information, and the desire to learn that which I do not know. And that the plain-spoken, hardworking leadership abilities necessary to help make decisions on our legislative board. I really think this town is on a positive trajectory, and I genuinely believe my skills and background can help balance the board and bring us closer to our goals.
That's brilliant.
I like you.
Thank you, Chuck. Priscilla?
First of all, there's some seats up front. If people don't mind being in the front row, I mean, you don't have to stand back there. Whatever. I'm Priscilla Vincent. I want to thank the Norwich Women's Club for putting this on, and I want to thank all of you for caring enough to show up, including whoever's on YouTube out there. I don't think I need to go through my Norwich bona fides all over again. I did that a year ago. Want to know about it? Ask. I do want to express the appreciation I feel for being able to be on the select board for this past year. It's been so interesting. The learning curve was very steep. I thought I was going to flunk out for the first, I don't know how many months, even though technically you can't. It's very interesting to learn how government works. It's not like any other beast I ever encountered. It is not at all like anything in the private sector. I also found that my sense of the town expanded as I discovered all these people that I hadn't been paying attention to who are so dedicated, so hardworking, doing so much work on behalf of the town on all these different boards and committees. And so now I read all their agendas and all their packets and all their minutes. It's like, I also want very much to thank the people who bring me up short. Maybe not as regularly as you should. The person who really did that was Stuart Richards, and I miss him dearly. But you know who you are, the ones of you who, if you think I'm doing something foolish or stupid or ill-advised, you will encounter me on the sidewalk or telephone me or send me an email or post on the listserv. And I really value that because I don't want to be, and I don't want us as a board to be complacent or self-satisfied in any way. And I'm having a wonderful time, which is why I'm doing it again. And I'm done.
Thank you, Priscilla. Now Doug?
Yep.
Statement?
Well, it's a testament to you that you're running unopposed too. So I think we should also honor Jack Cannon because most years he was here. So we lost a lot of good people recently. I'd like to thank the Valley News for saying I'm 42 years old. They copied Chuck's age.
Yeah, there's.
I thought about reminding them, but I
No.
held off. So I was born and raised in Norwich on Partridge Hill. I'm one of 8 kids. And I had moved, so I'd been here for 20 years and I moved away and moved back about 7 years ago. My wife and I, we built basically a net zero house on Turnpike. So we have almost a negative carbon footprint. So I work in real estate. For years, I worked in private equity in New York and DC and Philadelphia. And I shifted a few years ago. I have this unique job in Washington, DC. So I invest Netflix money to support BIPOC real estate developers all across the US. So my job is investing their money everywhere in the US. So I do upwards of about $1 billion a year in affordable housing. So I work in finance, but it's impact investing. So my job is really creating change in communities, creating jobs, and creating wealth for BIPOC real estate developers. So I really enjoy my job. I was the first employee that they hired. Now we have 50. So they hired me to invest the money. So I work remote, so I'm here all the time. I do like 1 trip a month for like 3 days, but generally I'm here. We're lucky enough to have easy fiber in our house. So we're fortunate for that. So since I've been back, I've been a lister in town. I'm a trustee of public funds. We, as a trustee, the 2 other trustees are here tonight. We initiated a green lending program where we can take some of our funds, which are cemetery funds, to do green lending in town. So our goal is to take a portion of that to change, whether it's the historical society who's got oil, or the library who's got oil, or a church, or whomever, mostly businesses, it's not a residential focus yet, to switch out the fossil fuels. So that's one of our ideas. And we modified our investment program, which syncs with the state of Vermont in order to do that. So I also petitioned the town to change the purchase of the road salt from Chile in South America to New York, so that we're not using super tankers to get our oil, our salt, sorry, 30 seconds, wow. Now I'm stuck. But one thing I would like to say to everybody, you can please ask about geothermal. I will be open. I opposed it. And so I would hope that somebody in the audience will ask about that, and ask everybody their position on that.
Great, thank you, Doug. Now, if you have a question, or if you have more than one question, make sure you have your favorite question first, because you will not be able to ask a second question until everyone has had a chance to ask their first question, including the 52 people who are watching online.
54.
54, okay, thank you for coming. And what will happen is, over there on that cabinet is a speaker. So if you have a question, you need to walk over behind the cabinet facing me and ask your question. If the question is directed to a specific candidate, that person has 2 minutes to answer the question. If one of the other candidates would like to add on or make an additional comment, they have 1 minute, and they need to let me know if they want to say something. Otherwise, we'll move on. If a question is directed to all the candidates, I will ask the candidates in various sequences to answer the questions. And all questions should be directed to me, and I will then direct them to the audience, to the candidates. That sound good? Make sense? Great. All right. Does anyone have a question? All right, come on over here. Oh, and please give your name if you're asking a question, and that includes people online.
Elizabeth Ann McGann, thank you. Mary Slayton, thanks for your service. So many good years. Your daughter babysat for my kids. We go way back. My parents were here 4 generations ago. I moved back in September from a foreign diplomacy overseas, and I've been stunned by the changes in Norwich. I grew up here. Mostly the issues, as we all know, is affordable housing, but I'll call it unaffordable housing. And many of us, upper middle class and below, are basically being bought out. My taxes went from 15 to 18.5 in 1 year.
Can you reduce that to a question?
Could we address affordable housing? Thank you, Doug. There should be a lot more quickly. And can we address the lack of transparency with the police department and the fire department? And can we address
All right, we just have one question,
the
and
tax issue?
which question do you want to ask?
All 3, because it's important. Thank you. Well, I think I just share it.
What's your top one?
Yeah, what's your affordable housing? Should we start with that?
I think taxes. Because we're all being
Okay,
sent out.
so do you want to ask all of the candidates or any specific candidate?
all of them.
All of them. Okay, let's start with Priscilla.
This frankly is my greatest concern about going forward in this town. Our taxes are already extraordinarily high. And 75% of your property tax bill is the schools, and I just feel for that school board and all the school boards all across the state for the muddle that we are in. I don't know what the solution would be. All I can say is that as part of the select board, we will try to be as prudent and conservative and careful and responsible with your tax dollars as we can be. And maybe we have to all think about what our expectations are that the town provides in the way of services.
Thank you, Doug.
Oh, okay. Thought you were next.
It's random.
Yeah, no, I think Priscilla's right. You know, the majority of it's the school tax, which is hard, I think, to control. There is an interesting algorithm, a lot of chatter on the listserv about it. I do think the select board in the town are doing what they can to control it. There will probably be a lot of homes on the market in 12 to 24 months because it is crushing to people. It is extraordinarily crushing. You know, that said, you know, the town's values, the home values are basically part of having a great school system, having Dartmouth College, having a great hospital. So higher values, you know, and the tax rate is going to equate to a very expensive tax bill. I think if we're going to solve it, it's going to end up being something with the school tax because there's only so much we can do with the town tax.
Thank you. Mary.
Well, a select board has tried to be responsible in budgeting. And we have had the fortune to have a surplus that's a result of using ARPA funds to pay for salaries during the COVID year. And we're trying to get our capital plan back up to what it used to be. So if we put that through, if the voters decide to go in that direction this year, it should at least bring the capital plan back to where it should be. And that should, you know, help a little bit going forward with taxes. I don't think taxes ever go down. And when you have a large part of your budget is personnel, there are costs like health insurance that will always go up double digits that are a little tough to control. Even things like events like ambulance rides that are not paid for. Expenses like that also, you know, sort of random expenses also tend to push things up. So on the municipal side, we're trying. The education side it's just bizarre and it's a bit of a train wreck, I think, coming hopefully we'll all survive it. But I don't really have any answers for that, except maybe talk to your state reps. Really, it's like, get a grip, guys, because this is not gonna work for Norwich or Thetford, especially, I think are gonna be very hard hit. And it just needs to be solved for the whole state of Vermont. So.
Thank you, Mary. Chuck?
I think we're kind of headed into uncharted territory because the school is such a huge part of the tax revenue. The whole Article 127 thing is gonna be difficult. And I think we have to try to do less with more, or more with less.
We know what you meant.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
I think the situation that we're in, I think we should continue to try to maybe grow the grand list and attract some modest businesses to town. But I don't know. I haven't really looked at it all.
Thank you.
And more.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you. Any other questions?
Carolyn Bird from Norwich. I am somebody that likes to follow policy. So my question is about our present day form of government, which is the town manager form of government, and that the role of the select board has shifted away from the day-to-day management to oversight and policy development. We have a set of policies, one of which is the master financial policy. And these provide a framework for many of the issues and decisions facing the town. And they were created to promote sound financial management and assist the town's stability, efficiency, and effectiveness. In the recent past, there have been violations of the open meeting law, personnel hiring policies, federal employment requirements, and the recommendation recently to violate the financial policy on use of the surplus funds. I'd like my question to go initially to Mary and Priscilla and Doug and Chuck afterwards. Mary and Priscilla, your voting records are public, and I would like to have you explain your reasons for voting to violate these policies and why you would still be a good candidate for the select board.
So you want two people to answer.
Mary, Priscilla, and if the other two would like.
And if you would like to have a 1-minute rebuttal. Okay,
How would they,
all right, so
prior to town policy, Doug and Chuck.
Mary, go ahead.
Okay, well, I think Cheryl was asking about several different aspects. So it's a little hard to know where to start. Cheryl, could you please come back and focus on one of those? You had quite a few. Sorry.
The open meeting law, the hiring policies, and the policy of how to use the town surplus are all voted by you to violate the policies that are in place for this town.
Okay, well, I don't think I can answer all those, actually. I can say that I've personally tried to adhere to the open meeting law. I've had lapses where I've had to cure something that was inadvertently done, but I do believe in the open meeting law. And so I'll just leave that. I'm not aware that we have done anything against the policy in terms of the surplus. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Priscilla, policy question.
Sure. Open meeting law. I hope this doesn't sound worse than I mean it, but that's kind of all had happened before I came on the board. And I am a passionate believer in being as open as possible at all times. And the select board is being really picky and meticulous about that right now anyway. Personnel policies. I believe Cheryl is referring to the way we hired the town manager. There was a feeling of tremendous pressure to which I certainly succumbed. that what are we going to do? We already have someone who has been here on an interim basis for about 9 months. He actually likes the town. He wants the town. We're not going to hire someone who, is here about a year and says, oh, no, it's a tough town. It is, we are a tough town. That's okay. And we were heading into budget season, and I have learned in retrospect from my loyal opposition that I did a bad thing by not saying, calm down, wait, somehow you're going to get through budget season. And we should have been, I think, more aggressive about advertising the position. And, anyway, we didn't. Mea culpa. Financial policies, again, from my loyal opposition. I have been advised that I should memorize the town's financial policy, which I did skim through a number of months ago, and I did not memorize, but apparently we committed an absolute no by deciding to take $700,000 and pay down the tax rate without asking the voters' permission to do it. I'm out of time.
Chuck,
Please repeat the question.
I believe that the question is,
Sorry.
The question would be to you and Doug, how do you plan, what's your plan for following town policy? And will you comply with that?
I have no interest in not following town policy. None at all. I think decisions should be transparent. I think communication should be transparent, and I think people are entitled to as much of it as possible.
That was really concise. I don't know if I'll try. Yeah. So Chris Kentucky was the resident who filed a lawsuit about open meeting law, and I communicated with Chris about this throughout the process. He's got ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and he was pretty adamant about an early resolution, not a long-term litigation. And he told me that he had asked to resolve this early, and the town's attorney refused. So this is something in business that I like to say, it's like wrestling a pig in mud. Nobody wins, but the pig likes it. And yeah, and then on ARPA, I don't think we should be doing that. And hiring the TM, I think there was a little bit of a leverage play, like I'm going to quit my job, pay me more. And so he got it. I'll say that when Herb Durfee was hired, his salary was 70 or 80,000. So now we're at 140, 150. So in like less than 5 years. So we have to follow the rules. We have to be transparent, and having a long-term multi-year litigation for open meeting law, in my opinion, was asinine.
Thank you.
let me just make sure there's no one else asking a question before.
My name is Dee Dee Sheets, and this question is in particular to Chuck and Doug, as being new to seeking a post. I heard specifically from Doug, but I think I also heard it through Chuck, that you're interested in creating change in the community. And so what I would like to know is, having left Norwich, being raised in Norwich, left Norwich, come back to Norwich, what do you see as the major things that need to be changed in Norwich to have us grow further as a community and to bring into the community what we need to help with a lot of our current tax issues?
Chuck, will you start with that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think there needs to be just a little bit more transparency. I think we need to bring back a little bit more trust. I think a lot of decisions have been made, and I think people are a little bit hurt that they weren't afforded the information necessary to understand why those decisions were made and why they were arrived at. I think after doing that, and after the community has a little bit more faith in the select board, then we can kind of move on and have a little bit more a healthier dialogue in this town about what direction we're headed in, what the real issues that people have are, and what needs to be done.
Thank you.
Good answer. Good question. So it's interesting coming back to Norwich. You know, when you are a kid here, it's amazing. And it's amazing today for children. And you come back as an adult, and it's like going back to your kindergarten class and seeing the chairs, and you're like, those chairs are really tiny. How did I fit in that? It's different now. There's a lot of friction in town. There's a lot of groups that have different interests, and I would say it's, by definition, special interests. Some groups want geothermal regardless of the price. Other groups want, this topic or that topic. There's a lot of friction and a lot of different groups are battling each other. So the adults are fighting, the children are having fun, which is great for children. But I think what we need to bring back is this warmth and sense of community. It is lost. This is a tough world we're in right now. Globally, nationally, in the state and locally, it is tough. I know everyone in this town is smart. We're in an upside down world. It's like Stranger Things. We really need to stop fighting amongst ourselves and have solutions and work together. I would love to see a better sense of community.
Priscilla, do you have any comments?
I guess I just have a different perspective. I'm aware, the world is a mess and the nation is a mess, but I think we're doing better than that here in Norwich. And I think, speaking personally, I'm finding it a pretty friendly, lovely, wonderful place. And the select board does try. I mean, you can tune into our meetings, you can show up to our meetings, you can read the minutes and the packets and all that stuff on the listserv. And partly it's how much time are you willing to put into seeing what we or any other board or committee is doing.
Thank you. Mary, any comments?
Yeah, I think there are issues that people get very passionate about. For instance, the pedestrian corridor over on Beaver Meadow, which is important for safety, and it's close to what people do every day. We'd like to take a walk without being run over. It's just very reasonable. And, some of the things we're dealing with in the select board are things like putting together the master financial policy, which was actually one of the things I did, was to compile policies so that we could look at it as a body and find things. So it's that kind of housekeeping that's not very interesting. That also has to happen. And I'll just say, on some topics, it's almost impossible to be allowed to say anything for legal reasons, personnel reasons, and so forth.
Thank you. Questions? No, I know you have a question.
No online questions?
I just.
Not yet, no.
We're
No online questions yet.
okay. Yes. There'll be time for it.
I'm Brad Weibel, and my son is in your daughter's class. Nice to meet you. I'm not a real estate developer or a lawyer, politician, so apologies if I get way out over my skis here. The tax issue, the school issue, the affordable housing issue, they're all sort of connected in that we build more affordable housing. You get different weights from the state in terms of how the funds are allocated, how the taxes are set. I know that the town government cannot wave a wand and just create affordable housing. A lot of it's out of our hands. What, though, are the levers that might be pulled at the town level, to make it easier or more attractive for a developer to come and do X, Y, Z thing? So just.
Is that a question for everybody?
I just want a lesson in what's the limited suite of tools that town could even do, whether it's some sort of permitting, zoning, yada, 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 that makes it that much more likely that someone can build an affordable housing development.
Doug, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thanks. I love that question. So I suggested a few years ago that the town do what's called, first of all, contribute their own land. So either fire district land or town of Norwich land. It was my suggestion. I pushed that through with Stuart Richards, who recently passed away. Stuart even went as far as to start a nonprofit in Vermont to do it. So scattered site means you do affordable housing throughout the town. It's woven through the fabric of the town. You don't relegate people to one certain area and say, everybody lives over here. It's got to be folded through the community. Ideally, with affordable housing, you want it to be on public transportation like advanced transit. It's next to impossible to do that in Norwich because there's no available land in the village. So you can't do that. And the other thing we could do is duplexes or triplexes. So 2 townhomes or 3 townhomes, scattered site, woven throughout the community. there will be extreme pushback on this transfer station affordable housing site that there is a $60,000 grant for. Nobody will want to live there. I think it's going to be a waste of money. There was 12 acres of land on Tiger Town last year that was available for $40,000. I actually tried to buy it to try to bring it to the town to do for affordable housing. And I just bid on something on Dutton Hill to do a small affordable house. We have to get creative. The other thing we could do and probably should do is have a deed restriction to keep it affordable and to abate the taxes for that homeowner for a period of time.
Mary?
I like Doug's suggestion to spread affordable housing around the town, but I don't see anything inherently, I don't see any detriment to also clustering it, have a pocket neighborhood, something like that. I am still interested in the site that is on town land that holds a transfer station. That I do think there are people who, as long as the conditions are safe, especially the water supply, would really love to live in Norwich and have the chance for their children to go through the school district. And as an educator, I know that having that opportunity could change lives. Okay, so I feel very strongly about that. I think too, in terms of being creative, that accessory dwelling units are another way. And they also, I have an apartment where I renovated part of my house, and it helps with my taxes. It would help other people, I think. Also, that I'm able to house a Marine veteran who has a security guard who, would have a tough time finding a place in Norwich. So you can help a young person, help an older person, and also helps with your taxes. So I think the accessory dwelling unit idea is also one that would be very effective. If there are, another thing would just be an angel investor who would donate land, because I think the land price is also just very hard.
Thank you, Mary. Chuck?
I don't know exactly. I don't have any experience with which exact levers I would to make that happen. But I do think it's pretty awesome what Doug said about kind of interweaving lower income housing around the community. I think having a more economically diverse community would be a great benefit to us and the people that came into the community, our kids and those kids as well. So, I mean, I think we should do whatever we can to kind of at least start down that track, regardless of, if it's a more compartmentalized housing or if it's all around the community. It's very beautiful, though. I like that concept.
Thank you. Priscilla?
It's particularly difficult in Norwich because it seems that it's very difficult to put any kind of infill or accessory dwellings. Heidi's had experience with that within the village. The village does have public water. Of course, everything's private septic. So yes, land is expensive. And then you have the cost of a septic system and the cost of putting in a well. And maybe we need to redefine affordable housing, because I think some people have the idea that it has to be on septic and it has to be on public water and it has to be near public transportation. And you're not going to be able to do that in Norwich. I mean, I like Doug's idea of scattering it around, but finding the land and then the embedded costs of the land, the septic, the well, the driveway, and I don't know, my husband's an architect and I know building costs are just, you're probably talking at least $400,000 for the house, never mind the land and all that stuff. I don't know how, but Doug's the brilliant one on this stuff. We need to and also the planning commission has to be involved because it has to do also, I think, with zoning, but there are some things that you just can't get around, like the distance between the well and the septic and the river body. I don't know. I wish we could have it.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. My name is Aaron Sheldon. Given the tax pressures that we find ourselves on and the limited ability to cut our way to solvency, I wonder what ideas each of you might have for expanding the tax base rather than simply demanding more from everybody who's already paying. Thank you.
Assume that's for everyone.
Yes, sorry, Chair. Thanks.
Priscilla, do you want to start with that?
Oh, why not? I mean, once again, we have to look to our town plan and our planning commission and all those bodies that are trying to do the. I mean, Norwich has had this idea that we don't want to have a lot of commercial downtown. I'm thrilled with the number of small independent businesses that we do have, but they're not so big. They're going to be paying a whole lot of taxes. I mean, you know, we got Dan and Witz and the Norwich Inn, and then yeah, we sort of doomed. It feels a little doomed to be a bedroom community unless somebody wants to do something with that field down Route 5, which again would need, you could extend the water line down there if you're willing to pay for that, and you'd have to do the septic.
It's mostly wetland.
I don't know. I haven't looked at it, but it's
I have.
Uncle Land. Okay, well, it's hard. It's really hard.
Thank you. Chuck.
I think it is really hard, like a situation like where you would want to bring retail or even dwellings, you'd have to do, you really have to scrutinize the burden versus the tax benefit of a situation like that. I do know that the larger, you know, if we wanted to put a target in here, it would be more of a burden to this town than it would be of a benefit. So, I mean, that's stuff that really has to get scrutinized.
Mary.
I actually agree with Chuck that bringing in a retail establishment or, you know, sort of doing that type of business infrastructure, I think it would just result in more cost for services to the town. I haven't thought about any alternative revenue sources, but I would be open to thinking about it. I can't think what that would be.
Yeah, so retail is tough. I mean, I think everybody in the room and everybody online gets almost everything from Amazon or somebody else. So retail is tough, and you see that it was Blue Sparrow, and it's hard to have retail survive in town. You know, there are things that I think, if you think about what kind of services we need, you know, we have a husky, we take her to a farm for a kennel, and it's like 50 miles away because it's a really good place and it's owned by a vet. Most people around here have to drive 10, 20, 30, 40 miles just to house their dog. Like, if you think about the services that you need every day, if there was something like that on Route 5 next to Fox, if there were things that we use to reduce our driving to, which would in fact in turn help you know, fight the emissions from our cars, we have to be a little bit smart. That's all. We have to think about what we use, what we need, how to reduce our driving, that kind of thing.
Thank you.
And on Route 5 next to Fox.
No online questions? Okay, Elizabeth, it looks like you're.
Thanks. Do I need to go up there?
Yes, you do.
Okay, so my grandparents are from Sweden and affordable housing has been going on for many, many decades, subsidized highly by taxes. And when you don't have a home, the government gives you one. And when you don't have a job, they help train you. And when you have a mental health illness, they're doctors in Scandinavia. I'm moving there. It's socialized education, socialized medicine, and a health club for fitness costs $30 a year. You pay 55% in taxes. So there are lots of affordable housing options beyond Norwich. I'm not even talking about this country. I'm talking about overseas. I work in Moldova. A lot of affordable housing subsidized by the government. Nobody has any money. So my point is, let's look beyond for solutions. Let's not just think Norwich, Norwich. Let's look at California for cluster housing for 200,000.
Question.
My question is, can we have a forum, I'll call it a charrette, with people interested in brainstorming solutions Because we were talking about affordable housing way before I moved back here, I think 30 years. It's a worse problem now. The taxes are worse.
So what's the question?
The question is, I would like to propose that we do a community organization charrette, and we have different breakout groups, happy to facilitate, done it a million times. And we talk about these issues and come up with 3 solutions. And then we come to our governance and see what is possible. Because a lot of things are possible that we're talking about.
So you want to hear from each person about your idea.
That'd be great.
Okay, let's start with you, Mary.
I think it's, it's always good to get that public participation. It's probably not going to happen too often in a select board meeting. But to have, you know, even the wall with the dot.
Separate workshop.
Well, they could be separate workshops, but just the idea to get people in a room and talking about what their vision is, what their problems, that's very valuable. And that often does not happen in a select board meeting. So I think, you know, if that could happen, I don't see any downside to it. Except, I don't know what will happen when the ideas come to the select board. That would have to be sorted out. That's, you know, there is an interface thing there. So I believe there will be a public hearing scheduled for the
To make it easier or more
transfer
attractive for a
station,
developer to come and do X, Y, Z.
proposal, you know, the grant proposal for the transportation, transfer station lot. So that might be a forum for people
my
that
name
they
is
may
Aaron
not be
Sheldon.
interested in that particular spot,
Given the
but they could come and talk about what they
tax
think
pressures
would
that we
work,
find ourselves on
you know,
and
and
the
just evaluating
limited
that.
ability
So
to
that's,
cut our way
I
to
think, going to be
solvency.
scheduled very
Um,
soon, possibly
I
on the
wonder what
19th of
ideas
March.
each of you might have
So I
for
hope people who are
expanding
interested
the tax
will
base.
attend that
rather
meeting. I also hope that people outside of Norwich who might actually like to live here would come to that. You know, maybe there's some people that grew up here that like to, you know, come back with their families. So I'd say yes.
Thank you. Priscilla.
We do have an affordable housing subcommittee that is working very hard and has been working for a long time trying to deal with this.
But I think we have to act and we have to say, look, by 2025, we would like 3 townhomes built. By
Yeah.
26, another. We have to start doing something.
Thank you. Chuck.
I agree that we have to start doing something, and I agree that we should establish goals, no matter how long-term they should be. And I believe that we should consistently update the community in terms of where we are at in reaching those goals.
Thank you. No questions online, are we? Yes. Why not?
My name is Dave Krimmel. I live up on 1512 Beaver Meadow Road. My question to you all is regarding the listserv post that's been out and about. It's regarding the reserve fund policy that the town adopted. And the question to you all, each one of you, you can start as you see fit down the line. Will each of you follow that current select board policy regarding the surplus funds?
Thank you. Chuck, would you like to start?
I've read the listserv post, and I can't say that I have enough of a direct relationship with that policy to say if I adhere with it or not. I will definitely make a point of familiarizing myself better with it. And I would love, if you want to give me your contact information, I can let you know what I think.
Thank you, Chuck. Doug.
Yeah, so real quick, I would not follow that policy. I would follow, I think, the state and town policies. I am fiscally conservative, believe it or not. You know, maybe, you know, there's been a lot of talk about affordable housing, but I do believe in rainy day funds, and I think we've seen a lot of road washouts. We've got a new culvert fund on the ballot. We've got a lot of things to be worried about. I am concerned about long-term capital planning, having the right amount of money set aside, thinking about bridges, thinking about walkways, thinking about all these things. And I just think we have to follow the appropriate policies. And having a little bit of a cushion is not a bad thing.
Thank you. Priscilla.
I'm starting to get confused about what exactly we're talking about here, whether we're talking, I mean, we had a surplus and we had some meetings that didn't turn out perhaps the way we intended them to, but anyway, it came out with exactly what the select board suggested in the first place, which was that we put a certain amount, the fire apparatus fund, a certain amount to, why am I blanking on that stuff? Anyway, that took a whole lot of it. And then the select board had decided to just take off the table, essentially, the $700,000 to pay down the tax rate, which is that what you're getting at, Dave? I'm not sure.
Regarding buying down the tax rate.
Okay, so,
ARPA.
okay, so so specifically, well, it's not
we
ARPA
had
because
some
we
meetings
did the
that
ARPA thing and
turn out
became the town
perhaps the way we
surplus.
intended them to, but anyway, it came out.
And if the town, it appears that the town financial policy says we were specifically not allowed to do that. I was not aware of that at the time. I had to go, huh. It appears there are two financial policies
Exactly
on
what
the
select board
on
suggested in
the
the first.
town website, and one is more up to date than the other one. But if we have a policy, we should follow it or we should change it. So well, I shouldn't speculate on some things.
Thank you, Priscilla. Mary.
Wonder if this is a year where buying down the tax rate is not a good thing. Just saying.
What does that mean?
Oh, just the reduction in your taxes for this year. Because it's $700,000.
Surplus. Maybe you need to explain to
Surplus.
people that don't understand what the issue is there, because that would be great.
Okay, well, we had,
We'll give you an extra minute.
oh my God. Okay. So I think the total surplus was 1,800,000. 100,000 was set aside for purchases that were made that didn't come due until this year. So we set that aside. And then the 700,000 was recommended by our interim finance director to, yes, to reduce the tax rate. So we had to decide whether we're going to do that. And then there was $1 million left that was that we considered to be a surplus due to the ARPA funds, where we had paid the salaries of the town for a year to cover the COVID crisis. So we paid all the personnel there to create a surplus so that we wouldn't have to go through the hoops that you would for designating ARPA money for a physical project or something like that. So we had that $1 million. The select board decided to put 500,000 towards the future renovation of Tracy Hall, 300,000 to bring the fire department capital plan up to where it should be, and 200,000 towards Department of Public Works to take care of culverts and bridges, as Doug was alluding to how important that is. So that's how it broke out. Now, it could be, we did recommend to infuse that into the budget. It could have been pulled out as a warrant article so that it would have been a little more direct ask of the taxpayer. So I will say we could have done it that way, but we didn't. But I also think considering the big increase in the school taxes, that I think it's probably a good thing that we chose to put that money in that direction. So
Thank you. Thank you. Right, we have a question on YouTube from Emily Flannery. I'm Emily Flannery, a Norwich resident. A question for each of you. How do you define the role of select board member, and why are you uniquely qualified? And we will start with Doug.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a lot of maybe friction about being on a select board. It's a tough role. A lot of people, wonder like, why do you do it? People think it's a volunteering job, but it's actually an elected job. I think it's important because obviously, like I said earlier, we're in a very difficult time. There's a lot of challenges ahead of us. I think I am, uniquely positioned for it because I work in finance. Obviously, we talked about it a lot. But I'm also a Norwich native. I've been, in and out of the town for 57 years. Went to Mary and Cross, went to Hanover High, went to St. Michael's, went to NYU. This is my home. I understand the town and I've seen what's changed, and I want to have an impact, and I want to see things get done. I think we've been a little stalled, and sometimes we've struggled. Exactly. So fighting open meeting law for a couple of years and spending money on litigation. We could have put solar panels on the DPW garage. So I just think we need a fresh face, and I think the people that can do it.
Thank you. Okay, Chuck.
I also think that we need a fresh face. And I mean, what the select board is to me is it's a body of 5 people of varied perspectives that determine policy and budgets to be implemented by the town administration. And I think I'm uniquely qualified for it because I do not come from a financial background. I come from a labor background. I come from a practical problem solving background, and I think that would help bring a terrific balance to the board.
Okay, thank you. Mary.
Well, as I said in the beginning, I just want to give back to my town. And so that's my motivation in doing it. I do have the 9 years of experience, and we've been through a lot of ups and downs, had some triumphs and a bunch of challenges. I do think my teaching background helps with just the team aspect, and hopefully in communicating to each other and the public as much as possible, what's going on. So I don't know why I'm uniquely qualified. I think that anyone who steps up, I just commend them. So I'll stop there.
Thank you. Chuck?
No.
Oh, I'm on next. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can try it. Yeah.
Double down.
If I can repeat what Chuck said and what Mary said. No, I am not uniquely qualified at all. As Mary said, any one of you who's willing to step up and put in the time, you're qualified. You do have to put in the time. And yes, we are, because we took on town manager form of government, we are supposed to function kind of like a board of directors. We are supposed to make policy and the financial decisions. We are not supposed to have to be totally in the weeds. We have been through a period where there was not good trust between the town administrators and the select board and the public. And I think we're getting more to a trusted, we're building trust with each other instead of thinking we have to double check each other's numbers and research and all that stuff every time. We're working on it.
Thank you, Priscilla. We have 2 more questions that have come in online. One from Omar Tramans. Forgive me if I said it. To all candidates, how will the new union contract that the select board just negotiated address the staffing challenges we've been having? And we'll start with you, Priscilla.
Well, in a way, that's easy. By the way, we got the copy of the contract yesterday. We will be discussing it tomorrow and voting to, I hope, accept it, but I haven't finished working on it. It will make it a lot easier to hire people when the police chief or the DPW chief can tell them, these are the conditions of your employment and this is what I'm going to be able to pay you. As long as this whole long negotiation has been going on, and it was painfully going on, I think the pain was on both sides. It was kind of hard for anybody to feel settled or to know what anybody could make an offer to anybody. So that's how it's going to help.
Thank you. Mary?
I agree with Priscilla that just having it settled in itself is going to help. It will include increased salaries, and the amounts, the percentages will come out when the contract is published. It will also raise the question, or actually inform the revising of our personnel policies, because there'll have to be a question of is there parity between the contract and the employees, And that's an item that we're going to take up tomorrow. If anyone is interested and willing to, you know, kind of wait till it comes up on the agenda. And I think it's a important question. I think we want all of our employees to feel valued and to work together as an entire team. So that's going to be a very interesting question of whether to have parity, and also, I think, how to do that through the wage chart. So I'll also just say that just in the nuts and bolts of helping to negotiate that contract, it's so interesting looking at our wage chart, and this is true before negotiations and will carry through. Just that when you look at it, 3 lines are for the police and everything else is DPW. So that when you look at it, it looks like one, but it's really 2 different sectors. And then if personnel ties into it, there'll have to be some kind of equivalent of where people are placed on that chart. So
Chuck,
I'm really excited to see this, and this is going on for a long time. And I know a lot of my coworkers and a lot of people who are in the union that would just love to end the uncertainty, would love to maybe just know what they're getting, what they're putting in the long days work for. I'm excited for everybody to see the pay scales. That's for sure. But I hope it all gets settled and dealt with and tied up. It's gonna be good.
thank you. Deb,
I mean, I wish it was done quicker. I met with the police when this started, and they told me the first offer from the town was for less money than they were currently making. We lost, the reality is, the hard reality is we lost our police staff because of this and for other reasons, but this, and we lost good DPW people. I don't know if you run the grader, but you know, we lost people to Thetford and to other municipalities, whether it was DPW or police, because of this issue. This issue took too long. It was too bureaucratic. And I will say, and I know this is hard because it's a lot of candor, it's a lot like the affordable housing thing. A lot of talk the last decade, no new affordable homes. Many, many years negotiating this union contract. It should have been done quicker.
may I rebut? I have 1 minute. Okay, so I'm gonna push back hard on the union contract taking a long time, because it does take 2 sides. I think all of us would have liked it to happen sooner. And I think it was irresponsible for information to come out during the negotiations that would have cast light on people negotiating, or cast light on what the amounts of salaries might be, or why people left. And it's a fact in this state, there's 50% fewer police officers available to work. That, you know, that pool cut in half makes a huge difference. And also to train a new person, if they come in from outside, we've had people that have applied from, you know, other states, they have to come in and they have to go to the academy. That means we have to train them. That means, you know, they may not stay, so that Norwich essentially becomes a training ground. So there's a lot more to that issue than I think Doug has probably the knowledge to be able to express.
thank you, Mary. We're 8:05. There's one more online question from Nan Carroll. This is from Mary and Priscilla. Did you consistently take the advice of your attorney regarding settling the open meeting lawsuit, or could you have settled it many months earlier? Please explain. You want to start with that, Mary?
We did work with counsel to try to understand the different procedures and steps that were that happened as the case went on. And it also seemed interminable to us, just how it dragged out. I will say that I think part of the trouble was the definition of what a public body is. That seemed to be a central part of what was being discussed. And going into it, our initial understanding is that a public body you need a quorum before it's considered to be a public body. Like that's what, if you show up to a meeting, you're on a board or commission, you have to have a quorum in order to vote. So that's what we consider to be, a public body. And that's how we sort of understood when we could talk to each other and when we could not. Okay. So now, as it's turned out, really, we should not be talking about any town business to any other select board member outside of a warned meeting. And to some of us, that felt too restrictive. And also it affects working groups. If you wanted to assign people to go and write a draft of something, well, suddenly that's not going to happen either. So just think it degrades the process. That's why I stuck with it. So.
Thank you, Mary. Priscilla.
The suit was underway when I came on the board, and I think we did take the advice of counsel, because I don't know if even now, I don't think I can talk about some of the things that we discussed in executive session. I don't think so, can I? It was more nuanced and subtle than you might think. I mean, it seems like such an easy concept to understand, but this notion of what's a public body? If the town manager needs to call together a bunch of people and talk to them, does he have to warn that? I mean, what has to be warned? What has to be written up? And our meetings have become, everybody said, oh, your meetings are so long. Yeah, they're long, they're cumbersome, because we can't talk about stuff in advance either. I think Mr. Katuki I hope he was happy in the end. And I think we felt it was a workable thing, but the nitty gritty of it got so that it would have been extremely difficult to conduct any business. That's why it took so long to settle.
Thank you. All right, we are going to finish now with 3-minute closing statements.
Can I ask my question?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you over there. Come ahead.
I'll stand there for a while. John Sheets, Old Farm Road. So maybe to try to sort it out just one more time, I'm a little confused. If the select board did violate policy in terms of using the 700,000 to lower tax rate, and what I assume is that is reflected in the current ballot that will be on Tuesday. And if that was a violation of policy, is the ballot that we're going to vote on Tuesday, is that valid? Is that a legal? And has the select board discussed that or asked legal opinion whether, if we made a mistake, whether that ballot measure needs to be revised or whether the whole election needs to be postponed? Thank you.
Chuck, why don't you start with that one?
Please, don't postpone this election. This has already gone on long enough. Man, I think he does raise some pretty valid points with that statement, actually. I think maybe the select board would have to visit that issue.
Thank you. Doug.
I'm almost going to mimic what Chuck said. I think since the select board loves to reach out to external counsel, this would be a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Mary.
I think we're going to be okay on that. But if it really, if you don't like the idea of buying down the tax rate, I'd say vote down the budget. You do have an opportunity to vote. The 700,000 is sort of embedded in the way we created the budget. So we may have been.
All due respect, that wasn't the question.
I'm sorry.
If it was done improperly, whether it's appropriate for it to be reflected in the ballot measure.
Well, okay, if I could, I'll try to answer that. I think the important thing is that the voters make the decision. The voters had voted that money the previous year to do, to support the budget that was created then. So if it comes back as a surplus, the most important thing is that the voters approve that money is used for a different purpose, whether it's returning the 700,000 to the taxpayers. That's one way to do it. Whether to propose it for a specific project, But in this case, what the proposed use of it is to reduce the tax impact. So we decided reducing the tax impact was probably something people would appreciate, especially because we knew that the school district, you know, there's a big increase coming down the road with that. So I think we're okay. We did not, our legal counsel is sort of all over everything we do. We have not received, you know, any red flags that it is improper. So that's my take on it. So.
It's my turn, I
Is it your turn?
think.
Yes, Priscilla.
Pam Smith brought this up at our meeting. She wasn't sure what we were doing was right to just put that $700,000 in there. The select board didn't really want to talk about that a whole lot. And with the blessing of 2020 hindsight, I'm wishing that when we had the meetings to talk about what to do with the surplus, I wish that this had come up in a big way then, because I don't want to go change that ballot right now. I mean, I don't want to postpone it. Please, can we just vote on something?
Thank you, Priscilla. Right, we're now going to have 3-minute final statements from each candidate in the reverse order from how we started. So Doug, will be first.
Oh, okay. It's always like bingo, like it's my so we talked about affordable housing a lot, so I won't belabor that. So I think we covered it. You know, one of the things I want to see done with the town is just fiscal responsibility. One thing I don't think a lot of people in this room know is 10 years ago, there was a net metering agreement with a local solar company, which we will pay $440,000 over 20 years. We're halfway through that agreement, and we don't have a purchase option for those solar panels. One of the things that I would like to see us do in this fight against climate change, a different topic here, and I did fight against the geothermal plant because I thought it was too much money for too little impact. A few years ago, I proposed with Pam Smith before she was elected on the select board to put on the ballot for the town to vote on to put solar panels on the DPW roof. And then now it's being talked about today. The select board then rejected putting that to the voters. One of the things I'd like to see done is really smart use of our money. If we're gonna go green, let's go green. Let's do it right. If we have a bad contract, let's go back to that group, restructure it, and have that group put the solar panels on the DPW roof. If we're gonna do affordable housing, let's be smart. Let's set goals. Let's do something in 24 months. We have to be more effective. We have to move from chatter to action. And I'd like to be the one who helps do that.
Thank you. Priscilla.
It's amazing to have so many people at the end of the alphabet. I'm not Oh, thank you, Doug. I appreciate what you've just said. Since I'm the only one running for my seat, this is your opportunity. Actually, it is your opportunity to give me a job evaluation, which means you can vote for me, you can leave it blank, you can write in somebody else. You are fortunate to have a choice for the other seat. Okay, you've got 3 people I know care a tremendous amount about this town. You've listened to them. You got to make up your mind what you're going to do. I am hopeful that we are entering a period of relative is the key word, tranquility in our town governance. We've been through a lot of turmoil. COVID was just sort of an extra thing that made things particularly unpleasant. I know in my first year here, I've done some things that in retrospect, I did that, I fumbled, I made mistakes, I bumbled. Again, I want to thank the people who call me up and say, what? Please keep doing this because we need this. And my greatest concern is the town is going to become unaffordable for everybody. And I don't know what to do about it. Hopefully there are a lot of smart people in town. Hopefully somebody somehow working together, we can figure out something to do.
It's already unaffordable.
Oh, I know that. It has been a real privilege to be on the board. I've really been having a good time, which is why I'm doing it again. But you can become addicted, I think, to being close to, close to what's going on in the know. And so I am looking forward to another 2 years, and then I'm stepping aside because I think nobody should get too addicted to town government. And it's good to have a fresh perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Chuck?
Thanks for your consideration. Running for the public office in this town has been a wonderful and humbling experience. I can't even begin to express my appreciation for the support that people have shown me, even though I've never run for office before. I met countless people and had many conversations with folks whom I otherwise would not know. I've learned what hopes people have for our community, what keeps people up at night, and which issues resonate with them. It's not always the same stuff. The issues in this town are not party line issues, and the problems we face aren't always of great magnitude relative to those found in surrounding communities, but they are our valid problems nonetheless, and they require common sense solutions. I'd really like to stress, though, the observation that winning an election public office in any community is not a conventional achievement or anything similar. The people who have served on the board in the past and serve right now understand that their work is a personal sacrifice, one that makes it so the community can prosper as a whole. It's a civic duty they've taken on to represent the community in such an impactful way, and these citizens are challenged with making difficult, sometimes widely unpopular decisions, sometimes with compromised information. They do it all for the betterment of the town, and it's remarkable. As a community and as voters, we should remind ourselves that the select board, whoever is lucky enough to sit on it, always benefits from your input and participation. So please, I implore everybody to be active, attend select board meetings, seek out desired information, or organize and demand action to be taken on a given issue, and we'll all be better for it. Thanks again for your consideration. And I have extra lawn signs if anybody.
Mary?
I appreciate having competitors because they bring their different voices, and they also say that, maybe people do want to change. Maybe people want to have a new direction. So I will say that I do want to keep going. I'm very excited about trying to help with the renovation of Tracy Hall and just affordable housing and any climate resilience that we can manage, even including the humble culverts, which carry our increased stormwater. I'm very interested in that. So I'd be very happy to keep serving. And I also think if one of my competitors wins, the town will still be in good hands.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, everyone, for coming and for the people who participated online. We went over, but I think it was really interesting. So thank you. Thank you.